Hello and welcome to a special FUT Weekly podcast recording because we have had the 𝗂𝐴FC 26 gameplay reveal trailer thingy, which is always, well, it can be quite exciting, but actually I think it's a little bit extra exciting this cycle, to be honest. So we'll get into that in just a second. I have with me, as you'd expect, Josh XLs. Hello.
Yeah, good to be here, Ben. Yeah, it's been, well, I'm sure we'll get into it. It was an interesting trailer drop, and I think a lot of people that maybe said they were done with the game might have had something tickled by that trailer at some point. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one.
It was the trailer of a company that's realised that hardcore community sentiment is very important to the success of their game. And for those who haven't seen it, I mean, essentially, it was full of people's feedback and them showing that they'd addressed feedback, which is not particularly common for gameplay trailers, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even feedback. It was like veiled complaints. I don't know. Yeah. The whole thing verged on self-awareness, which, I mean, you don't expect from a global conglomerate anyway, but you certainly don't expect it from EA, who kind of just have plowed ahead through terrible player reviews and, you know, kind of badly rated games without ever really referencing it or really having any lines of open communication to a community that sometimes doesn't deserve open lines of communication, if we're being fair. Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew, I think we knew things were a bit different from the kind of pre-trailer where, you know, Cole Palmer's just like, show the game. If he'd have said what, I think it would have, you know, finished everything off. You know, if someone had said, but we volumetrically captured 450,000 animations, and he just went, what? I think everyone would have appreciated that. But I mean, like, even that kind of stuff, it was still mentioned in some of the pitch notes, but it did kind of disappear a little bit from the, you know, that they haven't gone with this whole jargon stuff. It has been very much a sense of, okay, we know there have been issues, and the gameplay, I'll be honest, the gameplay doesn't look that much different. It just looks like they've gone, we are fixing the problems with gameplay, which is something everybody says they want, right up until they do it, and everyone goes, but you can't charge me for a new game just because you fixed all of it. It's like, yeah, this is what you've been asking for, though. Like, this is what the community's been asking for. So, you know, there's also lots of pressure on making some of the claims that they did in the trailer, because if they haven't fixed the things they've said they fixed, I do think that could be the end for a lot of people in terms of regularly buying and playing the game. But yeah, I mean, the self-awareness, the kind of community outreach aspect, I don't think we've ever had a trailer that's been so full of information. Like, we, you know, the amount of stuff we got told is insane compared to normal. So I mean,
normally there's very little we can say on the podcast about the reveal trailer, like very little. Really. I mean, we're
trying to break it down. Look at this frame here. What does this mean?
We stop it right there. Yeah. But actually, there's not. Yeah, there's typically there isn't that much to say. We're mainly talking about maybe the pre-order information, which we will get to. But actually, they basically frame by frame kind of reeled off things that they were adding in that trailer and actually put names to the things as well. So we can actually kind of go through that in some depth, and we will do that. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. So we'll get started. There's a few things that would just be less relevant from the FUT perspective, but we'll still kind of go through them anyway, just check them off. So
obviously, I know that you probably had a little bit more information than me going into watching this trailer. But what was your how did you feel once the trailer had finished?
Yeah, like quite hyped actually. I was like, I don't know. Also, there was the way that they brought Ибra in was really, really good. There was a lot of game engine footage, which I think was quite nice. Like, which there often is, but I guess it's not specifically gameplay. But seeing some of those changes and also actually just I think like knowing that people would be thinking about this trailer in a different way to the way that they'd been thinking about the past trailers we'd had. I think did feel good as someone who knows like the community's reaction to these trailers is generally like yeah, but it's not really any different to last year, or you're just throwing us flashy things that don't mean anything. Whereas they've really tried to be like, well, actually, we are making changes. And then they released 2 pitch notes, one on responsiveness, which there's a lot to talk about there. Actually, we were saying we will probably just save that for a future episode, and we'll talk more about connection and stuff more generally on that episode. And the other one was about community feedback, and they've opened up this kind of feedback portal and things like that. So making all the right noises, and yeah, I think in terms of the way the trailer was put together, it was good. It managed to do both, get you hyped, like as trailers often would do, in a kind of superficial way, but then it also had a bit more substance, or a lot more substance than other trailers we've had. So yeah, interesting. I mean, yeah, I think our responses also reflects wider community sentiment on it. Obviously, there are still people who are like, this doesn't mean anything until we see the game, which makes sense because obviously that's the case. But it felt like people were a bit more appreciative of the approach that EA had taken. So
yeah, I think I summarized my feeling at the end of the trailer with FFS. I'm hyped. Like, I was like frustrated that they'd been able to get me, and like, but yeah, let's break the trailer down, because I think. Yeah, there was element. As I say, I don't think we've had any trailer for the game this early that had so much information about new features, and new features that maybe weren't leaked, or like changes that weren't leaked yet. We knew a lot of stuff about Ultimate Team, but there were things in here. I mean, I don't want to jump ahead, but there was a play style that I don't think anybody's leaked. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so we had Google Earth Premier League match intros, so some sort of establishing shots that use the wider area, introduction of the Allianz Arena, tackle and interception overhaul, so reduction in tackle backs and bounce backs. I mean, we actually just saw the patch for this, Josh, right? But it's good to see this is a priority for 26, because it's the thing that I see probably, or have seen most over the last couple of months in terms of negatives about gameplay.
Well, I don't think the most recent patch necessarily fixed the problem of tacklebacks. It fixed the problem of over tackling and the recovery time of tackling. But I think they really focused in the gameplay or in the reveal trailer on the fact that timing your tackle would be important. Like, I think it is worth like breaking down the things that pop up on screen. It was like what they would say. So it was like more controlled interceptions, cleaner standing tackles, rewards good timing, fewer bounce backs, more consistent outcomes. So like, I think there were lots of aspects of that, of what they were saying there, that if they can do properly, if tackling rewards good timing, that's really good. I don't want it to go too far the other way, like from where we are right now. I don't want it that the ball just like magically sticks to your foot when you make a tackle, because I think, especially as the power curve gets faster as the game cycle goes on, that might look a bit silly. But it's definitely, I mean, it's been the biggest gripe, I think, since we moved to new gen, or current gen as it is now. It has been the tackleback system. So if they have managed to fix that, I mean, that's massive.
Then we also have dividing gameplay into 2 presets. So optimized for offline and online. I mean, they sort of separated it into being sort of realistic gameplay and then competitive gameplay. And I think this is a bit of an underappreciated one in my view. I mean, the straightforward thing is that actually, I mean, we had a discussion about this, but Josh, you were saying, basically, it kind of already exists to some extent, right? But
yeah, I mean, if you've played the game not in Ultimate Team, you know that 2 versions of the game already exist. I don't think
it's the same game engine, right? There's actually no difference between playing offline versus online or in any particular mode. Like, the gameplay is the same, unless you've changed the sliders, for example.
Well, but that's where I think there is probably a difference. I do think like the game does play slower offline. Now, that is also to do with stats of the players that you're using, in career mode or in player career or even in online seasons. The players aren't as good. So it is going to be a bit different and a bit slower. And then with play styles and play style pluses, all that kind of stuff. So yes, but I like that they're really delineating it and going, okay, online, so clubs and Ultimate Team, are going to be different gameplay to everything else. Because that is, if you are playing clubs and Ultimate Team, you more likely fall into the category of you want things that are fast and responsive. And if you want that hyper-realistic, like loads of animations, watch all the cutscenes, it's more likely you're going to be a career mode type player. There is going to be a subset of people left out by this. And that's kind of who I feel a little sorry for. And what I would say, if you are worried about that split, is I don't think the game's been realistic for a while. So let's just see what it's like. I don't think necessarily making the gameplay faster, or they seem to imply in the connection thing that they're going to reduce the number of animations, or at least make animation selection a little different in online gameplay in the kind of, I don't know, a faster gameplay version. And I don't know that necessarily means you won't also be able to play a proper passing style or a way that is a bit more befitting normal football. But yeah,
one thing that is,
if you're a purist, you might feel a little worried about this.
Yeah, one thing that is going to be quite interesting is because they said in the trailer just realistic kind of football simulation versus competitive. My understanding is it's offline versus online, but how does that impact squad battles, which is essentially online because you require an online connection, and it's within Ultimate Team, which is entirely online, but of course it's offline gameplay, really, like you're playing against the AI, which is yet to be seen. It might be quite fun to have that slightly different experience in squad battles if gameplay is a bit different, but I guess what I would say about this and why I think it is a big positive is there's always been so much tension between making gameplay that is a realistic football simulator and making gameplay that is enjoyable to play in a competitive context. And this kind of means that when they're developing for that competitive version of the game, they no longer have to consider the fact that this could have a detrimental impact on people playing career mode, right? And that was a thing that I've seen come up in conversations around gameplay from a developer perspective over the years that now they no longer will have to consider. And yeah, you're right. Maybe it makes it a bit of a shame for people who really like realistic gameplay but also play online. But they're not, this still is ultimately going to be a football simulator. They're not looking to move away from that. But it's just going to make it a lot easier. So yeah, I think that is a good thing and maybe a little underrated, actually. There's a lot of kind of, I guess, like fluidity improvements, if you call it that, and obviously responsiveness stuff as well in here. So there's agility improvements, faster changes of direction, 360 degrees. There's fluid, dynamic, and responsive dribbling. We've also had retuned speed of passing. There was another thing, one frame passing, which was talked about in the responsiveness update. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in here as well, but I thought I'd just group them all together. So there's quite a few things that are basically them trying to make the game snappier. I know at the start of the cycle, 25, it had this new dribbling tuning, which made dribbling quite slow. And I think they basically felt that was one of the reasons why people were put off the game, because it didn't feel as responsive. And I think they've kind of gone the other direction on that. And I guess it's that thing of like trying to make the game more appealing to people that do play online and that want that responsiveness, and so it makes sense.
Yeah, and dare we use the word skill gap? Like, they've reduced bounce backs, and there's going to be a reward for timing your tackles. They've made dribbling more responsive and better, and there's new ways of doing it, fluid, dynamic, and responsive dribbling. I do like that they didn't use some name for it. Like in the past, that would have been, I don't know. I'm not equipped to come up with jargon, but you know what I mean, like push and pull mechanics kind of things where it's like, okay, there's a physicality engine. So, there's that. We'll probably get onto the passing. Oh, you said the one frame passing, the fact that passing looks faster. It feels like they're trying to increase the speed and increase the reaction time that you need to start introducing more of a skill gap, which I kind of think is necessary, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. So Yeah, I feel like it's probably enough. We can maybe talk a bit about their responsiveness piece, as I said, in the future, and that's probably enough on it for now. But in terms of the other elements within the trailer, one thing that's very hard to read into, and I always have huge skepticism around anything around goalkeepers, is that there's been a goalkeeper overhaul, more consistent saves for fewer deflected goals is a bit of information that they provided. On top of that, you can't read that much into what was happening in the trailer. I can't say I had a huge problem with deflections once you had those what was it called, the deflector playstyle and playstyle pluses, but I guess outside of that could potentially be an issue. I mean, the one thing I just want to see is them saving 𝘵𝗃𝗏 shots, to be honest. Apart from that, yeah. Oh, there was also smarter goalkeeper movement as one of the things we saw as well. So I guess those things, promising, but it's really hard to read much into that in a trailer.
Yeah, and when they say goalkeeper movement, are they talking about? I don't know. Just
is it manual?
What are they talking about in terms of like? Is that manual movement? Is that how they step? Like, I did like the controlled deflections aspect. That did seem like something that deflector has been brought in as a play style, and that's maybe kind of my worry with regards to if you're improving that as just a general thing. I don't know how much of that is going to be now. Like, is the play style only going to improve that? Or is it something that every goalkeeper is going to have improved? Is it going to be something where you need the play style now because it's something they've focused on? Whereas, like, okay, players with the deflector play style plus are amazing at palming it around the post and you never give up any rebound goals. Like, that's where my brain always goes to what's the worst case scenario with this? Because it is just inherently a pretty good change.
Yeah. And also, one of the other things we saw is fatigue redesign, apparently. So you saw this flash up, I think. I don't know whether they called it a fatigue redesign as such, but the idea being that players can still be kind of explosive, and I don't mean that in controlled, lengthy, etc. sense, can still use their pace even when they get tired. And it's interesting because I do think fatigue has possibly been to blame in terms of people feeling that the game has turned against them, or that there's inconsistency in the game. So potentially dialing some of that back will help people feel a bit more more consistency in the game. So it does make sense.
Yeah. Again, one of those that I'd like to see how it works, because I'm going to do that thing where I go to the worst possible outcome again. If stamina is less impactful in terms of how quick players can move and how they play, then does that mean that defensively you could play super high pressing all game, constantly team pressing, overloading, and it becomes like one of those games where you just have no time on the ball? So again, with all of these things, there's a balance. You don't want players to be completely useless when they're tired, but there also needs to be a punishment. And maybe what they've done, maybe the fatigue redesign, is that when you're on the ball, it's kind of less impactful. When you're off the ball, your ability to press becomes worse when you're tired. Like, there are definitely logic loops that you could do that maybe make it a little more realistic, because it is very unlikely in a game in the 85th minute, depending, like, regardless of how tired someone is, that a ball would get played in behind and they'd start kind of, lolloping along to try and get the ball, which can happen sometimes. It's it's not even as bad as it used to be. It was something I didn't really see people complain about directly too much. You're right in that maybe that's what people were moaning about in terms of games turning against them, but I just think use substitutes. I don't know. So, yeah, one of those that I was less excited for, but we'll just see how that works.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I'm always kind of happy to see something go that feels like a bit of a mystery to players, how it works, and maybe the other way that they could have gone is just to actually explain how fatigue works, because they haven't really done that. But, I guess the other option is to just reduce its impact, but they should really explain what is left in the game that is being impacted by fatigue. As always, we're getting some new skill moves. Obviously excited about that. One of them is quite a cool kind of trickster flick up, and there's also an Elastico variation. There'll probably be more skill moves, to be honest. But yeah, this is
one of the Elastico variations looked absolutely. I think it was the first one they showed in the trailer. Looked absolutely unbelievable and
very sharp, right?
I think it was the one with Vinicius Jr. where he just like it's like a kind of drag back. It's like a quick version of the kind of double touch that you can do where you can like pull the ball back and push it off to one side. And it looks like it just annihilates somebody. So, hey, someone will make a skill compilation at some point and those skill moves will all be involved. I just hope you can't cancel it because that tends to be where those broken skill moves end up getting even more broken.
Yeah, because that was an Elastico variation. Then there was also a drag to chop, which is kind of like a heel to heel style move, and then there's also the trickster kind of new aerial. I guess it's almost like what's it called when you flick the ball up? Rainbow flick. Yeah, it's almost like a trickster rainbow flick. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the new skill moves. Oh, they're also doing kind of a what do they call it? Simplified skill moves. Yeah, simplified skill moves. So it seems like they're going to have a way for you to execute skill moves which is slightly less complex. I mean, obviously, from my perspective, I hate that because I don't think people should be allowed to do skills in a way that's easier than the very convoluted way that you currently have to do them. But if it means a gateway to skill moves for people, then potentially I'll allow it. And then I guess moving down the list of things we saw, there's Manager Live and Manager Live challenges, which is not hugely relevant to us. And then actually there seems to be quite a lot of changes in terms of physicality. So you've got you're seeing more on-ball physicality and off-ball shielding, and there's also a new play style called Enforcer. So yeah, I feel like, and judging by the trailer, there is going to be maybe more of a emphasis on kind of physical duels potentially.
Yeah, and I don't know if you, like when we talked about play styles, and I said that I thought Press Proven needed to be split between on-ball, like, because you had Bruiser, but I was like, Press Proven is different for a player like Rodri than it is for a player like 𝗵𝘃, where their ability to dribble the ball tight to them and get around players without losing the ball is very different to holding somebody off. And I was like, Bruiser's kind of that, but I see Bruiser as more something that should be for pushing somebody off the ball, kind of like the opposite of Press Proven, and splitting Press Proven into two things. So, the fact that they've now gone to on-ball physicality is interesting, especially coupled with the improved dribbling. Maybe that's a way that they're trying to make kind of chunkier players not like bad. Because if you improve that like really super high agility dribbling, then the small and nimble players are going to perform much better than big players. But with this, and then also the change to headers, including a playstyle that I'm not sure we saw leaked, which was Precision Header. I'd seen that Aerial was changing to Aerial Fortress. That was one of the leaks, but I don't think we saw Precision Header as a new playstyle, but that's coming. So I think maybe, again, there's elements of this that you can see them trying to balance the game between the different types of players, between the different types of playstyles.
And then I think that's all the playstyles that were revealed in this trailer, right? The three. So Enforcer, Aerial Fortress, Precision Header. But then one of the things that did appear in this trailer is something called archetypes. And I think there was some confusion, people thinking there was yet another addition to just what made a player good. But actually it is a clubs and player career specific thing. So will not impact Ultimate Team. So that's worth noting. Something else which would be a good thing to highlight is a new shot type. Hopefully not. Yeah, is a new shot type, low driven power shot, which I think, it's funny because obviously low driven is extremely meta and good in FC25. Power shot has just completely dropped off and isn't. So where this falls in terms of effectiveness is quite hard to judge. But it's always fun to have, new shot types.
My question with this would be, because this is where I think it gets silly, is would it be the same controls as a power shot, but where you just tap shoot?
Yeah.
There's something in that feels wrong. So
just powering up a power shot but with 0 power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was necessary. Like, I like low drivens, but it feels like they're already a bit too quick, considering, again, that you're putting no power on them. Again, as with all of these things, it will just depend on how it's balanced.
I guess it's nice for people not using precision, right? Because it will just give a bit of extra boost to that shot, which, as we use precision, we don't necessarily feel as much need for. But if you are using automatic shooting...
use precision,
If you can shoot a power shot, you can shoot a precision shot, right? It's the dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. So that's a new shot type, which is good. And then we move on to 𝘵𝘂𝗍𝘳 mode. That's not really relevant to us. New player roles, inverted wingbacks, for example, which is and people will be like, well, isn't that just false back? Which, I mean, it's not too dissimilar, but it's basically an attacking version of false back, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's more to try and get like I would say Trent is probably the archetype you'd use for this, where his positioning would tend to be tucked in rather than out wide when he goes forward, and he doesn't just stop in midfield, which is what the false back is for. False back was more for when, I don't know, was it John Stones who was being played at right back who tucked in at DM for City? Like that, it was those kinds of roles that I think the false back was meant to kind of do. But an inverted wing back is someone who'll make a run inside. So I'm looking forward to the people that try and run inverted wing back and inside forward and wonder why they don't get many runs from their front line. Because they're going to have all the players trying to run into the same space. So I think it'll be interesting. Again, it's always a balancing thing. And I mean, fullbacks going forward is just something we've not seen in the quote unquote meta. I don't know if it was something you were going to talk about, but there was definitely a bit, I seem to remember, of them saying they were balancing formations.
Yes. They
specifically said balancing formations.
Improvements to AI positioning in different formations is how they're spinning it, yeah.
Yeah, so that says to me, stop using the 4-2-1-3, you sheep. So, again, something we've wanted them to look at. And I wonder if some of the new roles are as a sign for that. Like, obviously, we've seen inverted wing-back, I think. There'd been a leak for wide half, which wasn't in the trailer, so maybe it's not coming for a centre-back. And I wonder if that's to try and make 3 backs or 5 backs more viable, to kind of split those centre-backs rather than having them central, so that they would go and mark a wide player if they were there. So, yeah, interesting. I was hoping to see a box crasher playstyle, not playstyle, role.
Yeah.
But there's so many different things now, because that had been leaked as well, but that didn't seem to make an appearance.
Yeah.
Although I will say the final 40 seconds of that trailer was a TikToker's wet dream, because I mean there was something new on the screen every 0.3 seconds, and it got faster and faster and faster. Like even trying to pause, you couldn't pause quick enough to get there.
Yeah. Fortunately, he had the foresight to send around the sort of press release thing that broke down each of these things that flashed up on the screen for seconds long, because there's a lot of pausing involved. But yeah, so essentially in terms of the other things we had, there's not really a huge amount more in terms of tactics and roles actually, so we've kind of covered that. But some of the other, I guess, smaller elements that we're going to see added is a high contrast mode. So for those who maybe have some vision impairment or even just colorblind, I guess, that's quite helpful. Interesting, there's a new foot competitive camera, which I think it's always tough with the new cameras whether they're going to take off or not. It feels like they try a new one, pretty much every year, and every year people just change back to what they're used to, but always interesting to see if there is a new, better option. And then
because some people like their cameras. I will say that the way that they showed the competitive camera looked like a zoomed out version of co-op.
Yeah, if you're watching on video, we are showing it at the moment. So
yeah, and so that looked like something that is maybe interesting to someone like me. I like the side scrolling. I don't like when there's too much kind of rotation of the camera, and I like it being zoomed out. I wonder if it's something where it will zoom in as you get close to the box, because that's always a little bit off-putting, I think. So, it may be something that's been used if it is one where it's designed so that you can see the whole pitch, because, again, the screenshot that they used, you can really see the whole pitch and every player on it. So, for kind of faster breaks and counters and stuff, it might be really useful for that. So
yeah, it does look good, actually. Yeah.
An interesting one.
Yeah. Another visual element, actually, Josh, is the fact that they've added this sort of skill move and weak foot indicator to the sort of, I guess, what you call the player UI at the bottom of the screen. Which means it would have been really easy to miss, because it's like right under the kind of timing bar in the bottom. On YouTube,
yeah. So much so that I almost missed it trying to get it for the screen recording there. But it's essentially underneath where you would have like the stamina bar and the kind of player name. There's now a little bar underneath that has like a skill kind of image with then 5 stars next to it, and it'll kind of show a number out of those stars. And then a weak foot where you've got the right foot and left foot. And I have an issue with the way this is put, but it's really
it's really bad UI design, honestly.
Yeah, it's really pernickety, which is that actually if you're looking at somebody's feet, the one on the right is their left foot, and the one on the left is their right foot. And so the way that this design looks, if you're not on video, is essentially it's like 2 football boots facing in opposite directions, and the strong foot is like filled in green with a like white design around it, and the other boot is kind of not got the white design around it. I don't think we see a 5-star weak foot player in the trailer, so maybe it will do if they have 5-star weak foot, but essentially it's the amount of the boot that is colored in green gives away what their weak foot is. And trying to see the difference between 4-star and 3-star weak foot is very difficult, to the point where me and Ben in a Discord chat yesterday were discussing maybe they're measuring weak foot in inches. So, you'd have a 12-foot weak foot would be a 5-star, a 12-inch weak foot even. So yeah, like it's not brilliant UI design, but it's something that wasn't on the screen before, and I don't think it's distracting. So I don't think it's something that will necessarily completely change the game, but it's a good touchstone for just like a quick look down. Oh yeah, they're right-footed, or oh yeah, they're left-footed, or oh yeah, they've got a 6-inch weak foot. Yeah,
and it will show your opponents as well. So that's obviously like a huge benefit, especially in Ultimate Team, as players' strong foot could change, and also obviously where they have 5-star skills or 5-star weak foot is going to make a difference in terms of how you defend the player. So it is important information, and it's nice not to have that. I was going to say it's nice not to have to remember that, but actually you could easily just not know because they've subbed the player on and you have no idea. So yeah, I think it is a really good change, even if the UI is quite a little shonky. It is good. And then I think we should actually take a break there. I was thinking we'd take a break after covering a few of these, and we've got kind of carried away. So let us take a break, and we'll be back to cover more of this trailer, what's remaining, and talk about a few other things right after this break. Hello, and in this break, a quick reminder that the pod is made possible by supporters. The pod didn't used to be weekly. Yes, Foot Weekly wasn't actually weekly for a time. And then someone suggested setting up the Patreon. And since then, the pod has been weekly. And in fact, it's been twice weekly because there is that supporter episode every single week. So if you'd like to catch that episode and keep the podcast going, it's just £3 a month to do so. And you get loads in return. And there are perks higher than that, including access to the Discord too. So if you're interested and would like to support the podcast, then head over and search support support for Weekly, go to Patreon, and it's very easy to sign up. If you are a supporter keeping the podcast going, then a huge thank you for doing so. And if you do consider supporting, a huge thank you too. Right, let's jump back into the pod. Hello, welcome back after the break. Now, we've only got a few more things to cover in the trailer, and then we'll move on. And I think the most major thing, but it's something we talked about actually quite a bit on the podcast because it was leaked, is Ultimate Team tournaments, Josh. Which, yeah, it's interesting because I thought I was actually surprised there wasn't as big a community response to this, and I guess that might be because a lot of the committed followers of the FC world are already aware of the existence of this as a thing going into FC26. But yeah, because of past hype for daily knockout tournaments, as they were called, this is something that is a bit of a crowd pleaser, theoretically.
So I think there's multiple aspects to this. Why did it not get as much hype? Because it was on screen for maybe 3 frames.
True.
I've just had to have a second go at like pause playing to try and get it onto the point where it says Ultimate Team Tournaments. And then the only blurb about Ultimate Team Tournaments is written on the website. If you go to pre-order, there's like 6 different aspects, and one of them's like a bit of an Ultimate Team preview, which we'll go through later on, where it mentions the fact that we're going to get these tournaments, knockouts, and it mentions something about like a 4-round kind of tournament thing. Yeah, it's a daily knockout tournament. We know what it is, all right? Obviously, they're not going to be daily. I think that's maybe why they haven't said DKTs are back or whatever. The second aspect to why maybe it's not got as much response is I think people have been worn down by friendlies. Friendlies don't offer a more relaxed game mode, even though they were supposed to this year with a new way of like doing friendly matchmaking. It just doesn't feel like that when you're playing friendlies, because the way that the matchmaking works is once you've played enough games, you're at that super high elo anyway. And so you're playing everyone who's around the same elo. It's not open. You know, one of the things that I think people forget about the Ultimate Team tournaments was they were completely open. And the reason that good players enjoyed them was because more often than not, you'd get at least to a semi-final and most likely to a final if you were like a decent player at the game. So that openness is interesting to me. The other thing that people always question when we get tournaments like this is rewards. What are the rewards going to be like? And the final thing, and the biggest thing for me is it going to be repeatable? Because if it's not repeatable, then it's going to be sweaty and there's going to be like danger on the line. And that's not a relaxing game mode when you could fail. Whereas, you know, Battle Royale modes, it's fine to fail. It's fine to, you know, lose. I was going to say the word then, and then I was like, maybe we'll get demonetized, you know, use the word unalived like they do in other live streams. But, you know, Battle Royale, if you lose, you just get kicked out of the menu and you go back in, you're into another game. It's fine. It's part of the game. Whereas in Ultimate Team, everything feels like I can't lose this because, you know, I won't get my win result in champs, or I've only got so many games in friendlies. If you can repeat these tournaments and it's like, oh, it's all right, I lose in the semi-final, I'll go back in and I'll play again, because it's fun and I'm using different players and I might play against someone who's bad so I can actually enjoy myself and play some relaxed gameplay. I think that is a positive. I think there is definitely a positive there. And if you're a worse player and going, oh, but I don't want to get stomped by all these tryhards, there are a lot more worse players than there are tryhards. I know it doesn't feel like that, but there are a lot more worse players. And so it won't be every game you're just coming up against good players. And then in something that wasn't in this trailer, and again, we'll talk about later on, there is actually now a more casual player champs mode for people to play an Ultimate Team. And we'll get into why I don't think what people are saying is going to happen with that, which is that everyone will just smurf and play in the easy champs mode. But I don't think that will happen. But yeah, so I'm excited for Ultimate Team tournaments. That may just be nostalgia. They have to get it right in terms of rewards, in terms of enjoyment, in terms of the matchmaking. But if it's the only place in the game outside of draft that has completely open matchmaking within that mode, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would just say on this is I always celebrate when something gets added to the game that is sort of a dedicated mode or something that has the proper infrastructure for how a gameplay experience is going to be delivered rather than trying to force it in through the friendlies and through objectives and all that sort of stuff. I think friendlies will never have the same enjoyment for me as a tournament structure that's deliberately added into the game, because it feels like a kind of box ticking exercise. I mean, it literally is like completing a to-do list on the game. And I think the more that we can get away from tying everything to objectives, I don't actually know, maybe this is going to be part tied into objectives. I think, yeah.
I think it is going to be tied into objectives.
Yeah, but probably will be. But
and
at least you've got a tree to climb up within the game somewhere. So yeah, rather than it just being like play one game.
But what I hope is that the matchmaking is relaxed enough that you can play in there for enjoyment and not worry about it being stressful. And like, if you can build packs at the end, or if you can build player picks or whatever it may be at the end, I kind of like that. Like, I kind of like that as a concept. Like, even, I know people might scoff at this, but imagine there was a daily knockout tournament where you got XP or SP, excuse me, for the season pass for each round that you got through. And if you won, you got like 500 SP. Yeah, you could finish the season pass in one day if you really wanted to. But what's wrong with that? Like, people are finishing it super early now anyway. Like, the season pass players by the end of the season pass aren't at the bleeding edge. So if you really want to grind and get these good players, especially with a paid season pass, that's an interesting option, right?
It's an interesting option, but I don't think it's going to happen if you just grind out like that 𝗂𝘃 in one day. But
why? Like,
because they want a trickle approach to the power of players they release and want to. I think actually, honestly, like, it's more that they shouldn't make it possible for people to complete the season pass within 2 weeks. Like, it should be more spread. At least I would imagine that would be the
But those two things can go hand in hand, right? You could increase the amount of SP you need each week, or you could even have, which is something we've said for ages, give something in the season pass that rewards people who get more SP than is required to complete the season pass, even if it's just a premium gold pack over and over again for every 1,000 SP. I mean, is it really that much of an issue?
Well, I see that. I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I find the whole, like, I feel like I'd like to see a more clear approach to the way that they handle what gives. It is in this would kind of. I don't know. I want this to be kind of its own standalone thing rather than relying on the season pass to be a good thing. If that makes sense.
It was just one. It was just one example, Ben. They can do all the tournaments.
I'm not impressed.
We can have our footies. We can have our footies Royce back if we want. We can go back. Conor angle. We can do all of those things as well. It was more just like, I think there is so much scope for them to use tournaments in a fun way in multiple parts of the game, where. It can just be there for 2 days and then goes again, and then the reward's different the next day. I like it as an idea. I hope it's the place that I spend most of my time next year, because it'll mean that they've nailed it and it's enjoyable to play.
I mean, if it's casual, it'll be stadium cosmetics. So nice. Hopefully, it's something like, well, the thing that I think a lot of listeners would probably like is sort of play styles and stuff like that you can use on your Evo players and stuff. I think that does reflect what they've done with friendlies, so it would kind of make sense, but it'll be interesting to see what they actually decide to do. And then, actually, I think really it's just moving on to icons, which we know already Zlatan is coming. We've seen other leaks, but also actually we know that there's going to be a quite exciting looking pre-order bonus player pick, which I think it says pick 1 of 15 icons, right? And those, though...
It's not a pick. I want to, just
is it not a pick? Okay.
It's not a pick.
I think a lot of people thought it was a pick, but yeah. It is just a pack which gives you 1 of 15 icons, I guess, then, yeah? And those icons, I'm pretty sure will not be... They're going to be their own special versions, right? Because they've got a different design. So they're not going to be the base icons that get added to the game at the start. They're going to be a selection, a bit like we saw with the heroes, I guess, in previous cycles. But of course, they are going to have icon chemistry, you'd assume, and will include all the new icons based on what they've done in the past with heroes. And I guess, there's always some potential for some evolutions as a result. As in being able to evolve that icon throughout the cycle, which is quite nice. Unless you get a goalkeeper, of course. Shout out to my Tim Howard. So,
yeah, I there was something you mentioned in there I kind of want to go back to, which is the icon designs are different. For the first time, I think ever, they've put images of players with their club kit on the icon image. Like, if you think about icon images, they've always been grayed out. And maybe this is just promotional, but I wonder if maybe we're going to get actual dynamic images from players. I wonder if it's going to be something that kind of just changes the way that icons work. I think people maybe... I think once we find out what these icons are, my expectation is people will be disappointed. And there's part of me that hopes that they are. I don't want these to be brilliant cards. Like, my worry is that you would then start the power curve off way too high or have a card that's going to stay in people's teams for months and months and months. I hope that they are kind of like the heroes we got this year, where they're kind of baby versions and that they can grow at some point in the cycle ahead, but that, like, unless you get Zlatan or R9, it's not insane. So the only two we know are there is Zlatan and R9. I would expect Morgan will be in there because she's in the trailer as well. We've had a bunch of leaked icons we've spoken about, including Totti.
Yeah, it looks like we saw the back of Oliver Kahn's head as well in the trailer. So
yeah. I think he was leaked, wasn't he? In that list. So I think that the one of 15, it's not a pick. I think they're just saying it's going to be a pick of 15, not from all of the icons. I imagine it'll be all of the new icons, which will probably be 10 or 12, and then a couple of old icons dotted in. Obviously, we already know Ronaldo's one of them. So, yeah, cool, but I don't think it's going to be quite as insane as people are expecting. I don't think you'll be getting 94 Ronaldo, for example,
I'll just be
off the jump kind of thing.
Praying for a player with a good playstyle plus, I think, so that their future evolution potential is then better, actually. Because and also, in a way, because of the chemistry impact, you can kind of accept a slightly worse player because you are getting a decent size. Especially at the start. People forget at this point how important chemistry can be at the start of the game. So I think it's a really nice thing and much better than Heroes for that reason, right? So, yeah. And actually, I think part of the confusion, I was talking about the 1 of 15 icon pick, is because there is actually a 1 of 5 player pick for an icon, which is a 93 plus icon, which is for FC25 that you can get if you pre-order before the 26th of August. And actually those icons that we were just talking about, which you do get in FC26, you also need to pre-order before the 26th of August. So you've got about 5 weeks to do that. And there's also an evolution which is available at the moment, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is a 99 shooting evolution, which can be applied to any player. And then there are some objectives you can unlock with a 99 shooting player, which can't be applied to any player, can only be applied to players up to 96 overall. So just watch out for that, because if you evolve a player above 96 overall using that any player to 99 shooting evolution, you won't actually be able to put them in those evolutions you subsequently unlock. But that may be worth it for you to do, despite that anyway. So yeah, that's quite a nice incentive to pre-order, I suppose, for people still playing FC25. But there's also some other stuff as well we can run through.
Yeah, so just to kind of finish off the pre-order bonuses, it's gone from 4,600 FC points to 6,000, but over 2 months. They haven't explained what that means or how it will be distributed over those 2 months.
My suspicion is it'll be actually, essentially, it's over 2 months, but it's in 3 installments. So like 2,000 at launch, 2,000 a month later, and then 2,000 a month after that.
Yeah.
I think that would make sense.
Maybe, yeah. Or 2,000 at early access, 2,000 on full release, 2,000 at the end of the first season, or something like that. It's going to be split. That's the main thing to say. So there's no like getting your 4,600 FC points and just splurging it all straight away. My expectation would be is that they leave enough FC points and release it when the second premium pass comes out for the season pass, and to try and go on, spend it here. but you also get the first premium pass for free on if you pre-order on the. Is it only if you pre-order on the Ultimate Edition, or is that only?
This is actually all Ultimate Edition, basically, isn't it? Well, we should have said that actually. This is all Ultimate Edition perks. The base game is really just the base game. And is it like £99 or something for the Ultimate Edition? It's not actually increased in price, as far as I can tell.
You do get the additional player evolution slot as well.
Oh yeah, that's really big.
And
that's pretty big.
In the past, in pre-order, they've said additional player evolution, or additional evolution slot, I think was genuinely used in the blurb for previous games. From what I understand, this is genuinely, you can do 2 Evos at the same time from day one.
That's absolutely correct, yeah.
Which is pretty good.
And from what I understand, you'll also always be ahead. So if they add an extra evolution slot for everyone else, you'll have 3. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's a huge. I mean, I think everyone listening to this, most people who listen to this are really into Evos. You're basically going to be like doing the Ultimate Edition for if this was the only thing in there, you'd probably do it because it's such a huge time save. Although I would say with all Evos or a lot of Evos being paid at the moment, then maybe that will mean that you aren't able to do as many kind of.
No, I disagree.
Evos
I think
effectively.
I think we've had a preview of maybe what evolutions are going to look like next year with the Choose Your Adventure. Now. Choose Your Adventure was a phrase that was used on this pod about evolutions quite a lot. And so I was very excited when I saw the name of the evolution, or those 3 evolutions being Choose Your Adventure. And I think we've spoken about it.
For those who kind of tapped out of FC25, Choose Your Adventure is 3 evolutions that were released into FC25 just a few days ago. Yeah.
Yes. And those 3 evolutions offer you the ability to essentially pay to spend less time having to get the evolution completed. And I think that is something we've spoken about on pod as well, that actually that is within lots of other elements of the game and is pretty much the kind of DLC or kind of just in-game add-ons that you get now, is to reduce time spent on the game with money spent. And so maybe the additional player slot from the off is a bit of a clue that that's the route they're going to go down more with evolutions, where every evolution will be paid but will have at least a cheaper option or even a free option, just with a much bigger game clause. And so having those 2 evolution slots from the off might help you kind of stay a little bit more on the more game side of evolutions than like having to pay for kind of shorter evolutions all the time. So there's again, opportunities are kind of endless and the ideas are endless. We'll have to see how it's put into the game. Before we move on from the pre-order stuff, just to go back to something you mentioned about archetypes, because people had seen it in the trailer and also in the pitch notes thing, because they've told us when the next 5 pitch notes are coming out, or at least told us the month they're coming out and the order they're coming out in. And we've got gameplay as the next one, then archetypes. And I was like, what the hell is archetypes? Because clubs was next. But archetype seems to be a clubs only thing, because in the pre-order, the clubs element has 1 archetype unlock consumable, and then 1 archetype consumable, which has got a little like badge that says AXP on it that looks a bit like kind of SP or FC points. It's like that same kind of thing. So that seems like something you're going to be able to gain in clubs. And it does seem like they've done a bit of work to clubs. I think you can now be part of 3 different teams at the same time, because that's always been a bit of an issue. If you wanted to play with 2 groups of friends, you have to come out of one club, transfer to another club, and it's all a bit messy. It does seem like there's something new coming with clubs, which I'm always excited about, because I think it's probably the best game mode on the game, especially when you get a good group together, like we do in the Discord.
Yeah. Shout out to the Discord Pro Club, who are obviously very excited about what looks like a potentially great year for clubs. Actually, there is one final thing we didn't mention, which is quite important, and that is that you get the Season 1 season pass for free as part of the Ultimate Edition, which
I did mention.
Oh, you didn't mention that. I was just not listening clearly. Which is really big, because actually, obviously, the number of FC points has increased, and I think a lot of people are thinking I'm going to be spending my FC points on the first season pass, right? So,
yeah,
actually, many people might have been in their head thinking, "Oh, I've got 3,600 points to spend," essentially, and especially if you're, Road to Glory, not spending FP on the game, that's an important factor. But now, I mean, you're getting that first season pass. You've got 6,000 FC points. It's split over time, but it's still there. So that's a good amount of Evos, or even maybe spending on the forthcoming season passes after that. So I think that's like a very, I mean, it is an insane value ultimate. I mean, insane value. I mean, it's all kind of a bit weird because they obviously decide themselves, but it's so much better value than last year, I think, interestingly. And I think that does reflect the fact that they really didn't convert from FC24 to FC26 in the way that from FC24 to 26, from FC24 to 25 in the way that they'd hoped, and they really want to make sure they get people in. As quickly.
I mean,
as possible.
6,000 FC points with the first premium pass being free, you would probably not have to buy a season pass throughout the whole cycle if you only spent your FC points and then spent the coins you made from those season passes on the remaining season passes. So, like, it is really good. And I'll go back to choose your own adventure. Now there is so many places you can now choose to spend those FC points. You can save them for evolutions, you can save them for season passes, or you can just go in the store and try and gain coins like early doors. So yeah, it is a really good offering. Like, let's make no bones about it. Like, it's clear both in the style of the trailer and how much they're giving in this Ultimate Edition pre-order that they don't want a start to a year like they had last year, where it was really bad.
Yeah, and also actually it's interesting. I think that staggering of FC points does suggest that maybe they want to slow down the influx of players onto the market in the early days of the cycle, and that's something that people have often complained about. Is that, like, you get these points, you spend the points, and kind of suddenly there's less of that kind of fun grind at the start because you kind of skip it by buying a load of packs. And also, to be honest, buying a load of packs isn't really how you want to start the cycle. Like, it's opening, especially if you do it very early, and it's just those like really bad packs that you're opening. It's a bit of a pain, to be honest. It takes a while, and it doesn't feel like you're getting immersed in the game in the same way as people probably used to back when they would jump on and start playing games with a not particularly good team. So I guess it feels like maybe they're trying to kind of slow the start of the cycle in terms of that kind of influx of golds onto the market, which could be quite interesting to see whether that has a difference. Because I think it does. There's a lot of people who don't spend and who buy that Ultimate Edition. So I guess it probably was having a significant market impact. Yeah, I mean, so many people. I think we've just got a few other bits to cover, including Baby Champs, which I think, again, we have possibly talked about. Was it leaked at some point? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it had been leaked. So it's in this like game features section that you kind of have to look for on the website. So, a lot of it stuff that was covered in the trailer, new gameplay, community feedback is an important thing they're talking about. The 2 distinct gameplay presets where they say that competitive is tuned for head-to-head action in Ultimate Team and clubs with faster passing, smarter keeper rebounds and more direct control. Authentic is more true to life. That'll be in career mode. Then there was the Ultimate Team bit, because in the trailer, it kind of like run through really quickly Ultimate Team bits, but it says compete in new ways across football Ultimate Team with tournaments and live events, as well as a refreshed Rivals and Champs experience. Tournaments will test your skills with up to 4 rounds of knockout football, daily knockout tournament, while live events add more variety with themed competitions and content all season long. I wonder if friendlies are gone. I wonder if friendlies as a mode is gone and it's been replaced with live events and tournament, because you can't have friendlies and both of these things, I don't think.
It's worse than moments, honestly.
Then, and I got excited when I read this, probably too excited. New bounties with a capital B, allow you to earn additional rewards or accelerate your weekly progress. Now, there's been some leaks around this, so I'm not guessing this in a complete vacuum. But I think one of the biggest complaints specifically about Rivals this year has been about it feeling turgid, that you're just playing game after game to get to 35 points or 45 points as it was earlier in the cycle. And it was just crap because you draw and like suddenly you've only got 1 point or you'd lose. And then even in like the season progression, it's like you could go on a streak, but then you're only gaining 3 points, but I'm winning every game and I want to get things done a bit quicker and all that. My feeling is bounties are a in-game objective, or like an objective for specific matches in Rivals to keep it engaging when you're playing. So I think sometimes it'll be like, maybe you get double points for this game. I think it was leaked that you'd get double points if you were on a streak. So if you were on a streak, you'd get 6 points for a win instead of that. I wonder if they'll just add it in at random, almost like, going, oh, go on, if you win this game, you'll get double points. But, you could also have score first and get an extra point towards your weekly total. You could also have all of those different things. So I think they are like kind of specific objectives for the next game you're about to play in Rivals to try and make it more exciting and a bit more varied than it currently is, which I think is a really clever addition without having to completely overhaul the mode. Again, the leak suggests that there's going to be a bit more relegation protection. There's going to be kind of more stuff to keep you engaged with Rivals. So I really like that. And then we get on to the final bit. EA Sports FC 26 launches Challengers, a new second-tier weekend competition designed for players in lower divisions. So, baby champs.
Baby champs, yeah. And actually, this is just a balancing nightmare for them. And I think, it is something that we could talk about for a while, because there are so many, potential issues I'm sure many listeners are already seeing, and we don't have really any time left in the podcast, but maybe we'll leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger and we'll talk about it at some point in the future. But it is something that could well be a huge problem actually for the game, as well as something that I can kind of see why they've done it and does make sense to some extent.
It'll be fine.
We'll see.
It'll be fine.
We'll
there's an easy way to do this, and I'm sure they've thought about it. But essentially, the moment you qualify for real champs, you can never go back to baby champs. And you might go, but then people will never play in main champs. They just need one weekend league where the rewards are good enough in main champs for people to go and play there, and people will go and play there. I don't think people would sacrifice both of the competitive modes in the game and stick in Division 6 in Rivals. Think about the difference in rewards in Division 6 and 7 and 8 compared to 3 or 4, where you could probably still maintain and be fine. I really don't think it's going to be an issue.
A lot harder for players who are, let's say the split is like in the center, so like Division 5. Obviously, if you're a Division 5 player entering top tier champs, it's going to be a lot harder potentially than champs was previously. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how they do it, because as you said,
the rewards are important. The rewards are so important.
I mean, it basically it's all about how they balance the rewards.
You need 15-0 rewards in baby champs to be 4 wins in main champs, something like that.
That's kind of funny, thinking that, right? That you could go 15-0 and get those rewards. But there's a lot of interesting stuff, and it's actually nice that we've had so much of that interesting stuff so early. We had a pitch note on how they're doing community feedback, and also another deep dive into, as I said, responsiveness and connection. So the feedback one, I don't know whether, it may be worth a read. They've set up a feedback hub, which is great, so you can feedback directly in a more kind of structured way if you would like to. But also with the pitch note on gameplay responsiveness, I think that is something that we'll kind of deep dive into a bit more in the future. And obviously this is kind of next week's podcast, I guess, so maybe we end up covering it on the podcast that will come out next week. All interesting and plenty more conversation to be had. And if you would like to get involved, then drop a comment on the YouTube video. You can also send your thoughts in the pod priority questions channel in the supporter Discord for gold or icon supporters. And you can tweet at FootWeeklyBen, at JoshXLs _ right? Or at FootWeeklyPod.
I'm going to try something for those that are still watching. If you're still watching, thank you very much. Or listening even. I want you to comment either on Spotify if you listen to it there, in the Discord if you're in the Discord.
I do read the Spotify comments. I should have said, you could also do it
on YouTube. I want to know, what was your likelihood of pre-ordering the game, or what was your out of 10 likelihood of pre-ordering the game before the trailer, and has it gone up now? What's your likelihood now? Because I think I was always going to pre-order it as part of my job. Obviously I do this podcast. I still love the game. As much as we kind of can complain about it at times, I still love it. But that trailer took me from like a 6 out of 10 excited to like a kind of 9 out of 10 excited. And I know it's like Manchester United every season. This is going to be the year it all comes together, right? And I'm ready to be hurt again.
This is the Matthias Kuhner of the FC26 world.
So I want to know if you've had the same thing. But yeah, I'm on Twitter at @JoshXLs_. And to explain the hat, I've just had a bad hair day, and I couldn't be on, like, 10:30 is so early for us to record that I wasn't going to shower and make it all look nice. So also go get the MFL branding in there as well if you're not watching as an MFL cap.
Yeah, and also for those who are concerned about the disappearance of my house plant in the last 2 episodes, don't worry, it is back. Had some concerned listeners. My son is safe. And yeah, I think that does wrap us up. So thank you very much, as always, for joining us, Josh. Always good to have you.
Yeah, no, it's been great to be here.
Yeah, fun episode. And as I said, thank you very much to all you listeners for actually just generally your feedback on the videos. It's been really positive, and we've still got plenty to kind of do and improve around the videos. Someone was asking, is it possible for me to, if you're listening on Patreon, someone was asking, is there a way to get the audio version of the podcast? Because I listen on my commute and, obviously it's extra bandwidth. There is a link always in every Patreon released episode description, which explains how to add the podcast, as in the sort of exclusive podcast feed that patrons get, into your podcast providing app. And if you do that, that'll always be audio, so you can always just listen through audio if that's preferred. Because I know on Patreon it'll play the video if you play it in the app. So yeah, it's actually a very convenient way to get the episodes anyway, so would recommend that. And yeah, if you're not yet a supporter, then do support. You can get double the podcast content, thanks to the support. We've been able to do stuff like video podcasts, etc. You can do that by searching Support Foot Weekly. Follow the link in the description, and yeah, it's very quick and easy to sign up, and it's very cheap, just £3 a month to get the bonus episodes. So yeah, thank you to all you supporters out there supporting the podcast and keeping it going, and a big thank you to those icon patrons: Dave B, Darren W, Hugh J, Rob W, Brent P, Ralph, Josh R, Brian, Michael B, Adam R, 𝘵𝘀, Make B, Michael H, Andrew P, Arian B, Rob S, Michael K, Neil P, Jake S, Tom B, Alex M, Alan G, Lee A, Chris G, Mark M, Dom P, Rob P, Roger D, Dan W, Waterman, Also Ran, and 𝗫𝗎𝘂. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, Hugh J, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. Ultimate Team is a bit like life really. It has its many ups and downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to thecalmzone.net, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to thecalmzone.net. And for now, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next podcast.